Afternoon. For the record, my name is Danya Fernandez-Anderson, the District 7 City Councilor. I am the chair of the Boston City Council Committee on Ways and Means. This hearing is being recorded, is being live streamed at boston.gov/city-council-TV and broadcast on Xfinity Channel 8, Channel 82, and FiOS Channel 964. The Council's budget review process will encompass a series of public hearings that began in April and will run through June. We strongly encourage residents to take a moment to engage in this process by giving testimony for the record. You can do this in several ways: attend one of our hearings and give public testimony, or at this point, there are no more public testimonies scheduled, or we will take public testimony at the end of this departmental hearing and also at the hearing dedicated to public testimony. The full hearing schedule is on our website, boston.gov/council-budget. You can give testimony virtually via Zoom. For virtual testimony, you can sign up using our online form on our council budget review website or by emailing the committee at ccc.wm@boston.gov. When you are called to testify, please state your name and affiliation or residence and limit your comments to a few minutes to ensure that all comments and concerns can be heard. Email your written testimony to the committee at ccc.wm@boston.gov. Submit a 2-minute video of your testimony through the form on our website. For more information on the City Council budget process and how to testify, please visit the City Council's budget website at boston.gov/council-budget. Today's hearing is on docket 0760 to 0762, orders for the FY24 operating budget, including annual appropriations for departmental operations for the school department and for other post-employment benefits, OPEB. Docket 0763, 0765 to 0766, orders for the capital fund transfer appropriations. Docket 0764, 0767 to 0768, orders for the capital budget, including loan orders and lease purchase agreements. Our focus for this hearing is an overview of the FY24 budget for Boston Public Schools with a focus on academics. Our panelists for today's hearing includes Superintendent, Deputy Superintendent of Senior Deputy Superintendent of Academics, Linda Chan, David Bloom, Deputy Chief Financial Officer. Today I'm joined by my colleagues, Councilor Lou Jen at large, Councilor Liz Braden, District 9, Councilor Murphy, and Council President Flynn. Sorry, who was first between you and Councilor Flynn?
Councilor Flynn was first. I was after him.
Thank you so much. Councilor President Flynn, District 2, and Councilor Aaron Murphy at large. Just for full disclosure, this will be the last hearing for our budget season. We do not have any other working sessions, public testimony or hearings scheduled. If you would like, the public like to send any final statements or express advocacy for your positions on any amendment suggestions or proposal, please feel free to email me or email the emails that I've provided previously. I will ask my council colleagues if they have an opening statement in this hearing for 30 seconds. And if you don't, I will go straight to the administration for a presentation. Then to my council colleagues, you will have each about 12 to 15 minutes each. And then we will take public testimony and we will wrap up. We will not have a second round of questions. We will wrap up immediately after. Councilor Jen, do you have an opening statement?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank BPS administration for being here as we work to provide and deliver excellent quality education for our young kids. We'll reserve my questions and any further remarks for the Q&A section, but thank you for being here.
Councilor Braden, do you have an opening statement?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank the panel for being here. I'll hold my comments in the interest of time, I'll hold my comments for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Braden. Council Murphy, an opening statement. Council President Flynn, apologies, an opening statement. You are muted, Council President Flynn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My opening statement will be brief. Want to know more about the infrastructure improvements in all of our BPS buildings, especially ones with struggling HVAC systems. Would like to get a list of what's working, what's not working on HVAC. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Murphy, opening statement.
Thank you, Chair. Looking forward to this last conversation about the budget, and just wanting to get, and I hope through your presentation we'll hear about the correlation between every year we spend more, but what is our return on investment and what are we really targeting to make sure that all of our students at every school are not just getting a quality education, but the data is showing that they're reading and writing and able to move on to middle school, high school, and then life beyond BPS. So thank you for being here and looking forward to the conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy. Councilor Mejia.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not going to belabor my opening statements other than I want to underscore that every single hearing that I've had, I've asked about our return on investment, and I'm hoping that this particular hearing, dollar for dollar, we're going to be able to articulate how the investments we're making, what will be the return on those. So looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Mejia, and considering Councilor Gabriela Coletta right on time, would you like to give an opening statement?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just say that I'm excited for this conversation. I'm really interested in getting into the details about academic excellence and some things that are happening in particular in my district. So I appreciate the offer to do an opening statement, but I will keep it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Considering time and the amount of councilors that have joined, you'll have exactly 12 minutes and no more than 12 minutes for your statement, and then to public testimony and closing out, hopefully at a hard stop at 4 p.m. Unfortunately, we have a rally for the Better Budget Alliance, and other community advocates will be hosting a rally and press conference outside of City Hall beginning at 4:15. And I think some of my colleagues would appreciate to have the opportunity to attend. Without further ado, the administration, David and Ms. Chan, you have the floor for your presentation.
Thank you very much, Councilor, and everyone on the council for having us here today. Is it best for me to share my screen for the presentation, or my apologies, I can do that now.
That would work.
Great. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Council, and to those of you who've tuned in this afternoon to watch our presentation about the FY24 Boston Public Schools budget with a focus on academics. We always like to start our budget presentations by grounding ourselves in our opportunity achievement gap policy, our belief that every child in, in every classroom, in every school of the BPS has the same opportunity to achieve greatness. This FY24 budget is a student-centered investment that includes $71.7 million of increases aligned to our priorities, supporting 6 strategic investments, including inclusive education, multilingual education, equitable literacy and libraries, social work, restorative justice, mental health, as well as high schools and community engagement. We are at the same time seeing increased costs for our collective bargaining increases, for utilities and other facilities matters, for transportation, special education, and others. Finally, we know we need to move towards more long-term sustainability, especially with a focus on ESSER and our hold harmless. And so our budget includes some moves that are designed to get us towards the long-term sustainability that we need. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Linda Chen, our Senior Deputy Superintendent of Academics, to walk through our academic priorities.
Thank you, Mr. Bloom, and thank you, counselors, for giving us this opportunity to have a dialogue about our budget as it relates specifically to academics. I'd first like to begin anchoring our work around our supports and accountability to our schools, where everything happens for our students and families. We reorganized the district into 9 regions this year, 6 elementary K-8 and 3 secondary, reflecting the geographic communities across the city, each with about 12 to 15 schools and led by a school superintendent. The purpose of this structure is to provide consistent expectations for all schools while also ensuring equitable supports that are provided to ensure the success of every student across the BPS. The goal is for our families to know what they can expect from us and to ensure that those academic, social, and emotional experiences and outcomes are attained in every school across the city. You will see from the slide that there are positions that support anything from operational functions, including staffing to budget, to specific instructional, multilingual, and special education supports, to attendance, family engagement, and equity specialists. Some positions are assigned 1 per region, while other positions work with 2 regions, depending on the nature of the work. On the next slide, I want to just articulate for a few minutes some of what we're talking about with our academic foundation. Some of this language, and I apologize in advance for the technical language here, but because you see some of this language in our budget items, I wanted to make sure that there's shared understanding. Essentially, the foundation we need to build is to ensure that, every student has access to grade level, intellectually engaging, and culturally and linguistically responsive work in every subject area. We have been engaging in what we call equitable literacy as a way that students can read, write, listen, and speak with fluency in all content areas that they are learning across the school day. This is what we call Tier 1 that you may see often in our budget items, and includes learning for our students with disabilities, multilingual learners, and our multilingual learners with disabilities, so all students. As we learn more about what students know and are able to do, teachers then adjust this Tier 1 or core instruction to meet the needs of the students. Sometimes some students may need more support and additional interventions so that some students get additional supports, which we call Tier 2. And then there are some additional supports that are more individualized that we often call Tier 3. Overall, these 3 tiers we refer to as multi-tiered systems of support. So on some budget lines, you'll see something called MTSS, a process in which we make sure all students have access to Tier 1 and where we monitor progress and provide additional supports as needed. What's important to note here is that our schools have been engaging in this work to some degree over the years, but this has not been consistent and at a systems level. Our investments are centered to ensure that all students have this access and that we as a system provide this universally in every school. We know that our students deserve this and our families need to be able to count on this no matter what school their children attend. And moving on to the next slide, I wanted to just note a few things around the strong foundation of this work as a vehicle for ensuring that we implement inclusive education across our system. David, can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. We have a historic agreement with the BTU to be able to ensure every student has access to this type of instruction that I've just shared. Historically, our students with disabilities and our multilingual learners with disabilities have not always had access to what we call least restrictive environment, where they have full access rather than in segregated classrooms by disability type. Our investments reflect the resources, training, and personnel to ensure that students get what they need. This means curriculum and intervention resources, training and supports in reading intervention specifically, supports to ensure every school can implement MTSS, training and supports in developing IEPs, including transitioning to a new IEP that Desi just shared with us this year. A significant part of our work for this year is adding additional hours of professional development to all educators in every school so that they have the needed supports and training of the assets of our students, including their identities, disability, language, and learning styles. We must dismantle our current systems of assigning students with disabilities and multilingual learners to ensure every student has access to high-quality programs that are fully inclusive and provide native language supports. As we do that work, we must continue to lay a strong foundation in Tier 1 or grade level learning for every student. As we turn to the next two slides, I want to also emphasize the supports that we are engaging in, investments that we are making for our multilingual learners. David, can you advance to the next slide? Thank you. We take seriously the significance of dual language learning opportunities for our students, which not only affirms and sustains the native language of our students, but also in doing so, helps our students to also become proficient in English in all subject areas. This must be done thoughtfully and well. Similar to inclusion, we must build off a strong foundation. For dual language in particular, we are committing resources to our current dual language schools to solidify models of success that can be more readily replicated. This includes some school-specific supports, particularly to build out our low-incidence language programs where we are working with schools to create curriculum and instructional resources and supplemental resources to all dual language programs. This also means seed money for schools that are positioned to add dual language programs in the future. The work to do this is critical, especially community support, which our family specialists are key in that effort. We also have additional programming and social emotional learning supports through our SLIFE social workers, and as well as rules-based reading training. In order to scale dual language and bilingual programs, we need to have district infrastructure to do that, which is why we added positions to develop and staff these programs. On the next slide, I'd like to highlight a few more areas in support, particularly of our multilingual learners with disabilities. Again, in order to best support, we need to have an infrastructure to do so. We will have a department that reports both to special education and to the Office of Multilingual and Multicultural Education to specifically support our multilingual learners with disabilities. We are also expanding our native language assessments to better identify students for services, as well as to support their learning in both languages. We are continuing to work with our human capital partners to recruit bilingual staff, including teachers, psychologists, paraprofessionals, to name a few. Last but not least, we are creating more capacity to support compliance at our schools. Now we'll turn to the last slide, and I'll address some commitments that we've made in the next fiscal year around improving our high schools and alternative education programs. We are expanding supports for our dual enrollment and early college initiatives, as well as focusing on expanding our college, career, and life readiness partnerships. Providing professional development for our school guidance counselors and our advanced placement staff, and also to hire support to assist with the curriculum for alternative education curriculum. I'll end here, but note that we have staff from the academics department as well as equity and student support to be able to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.
One second. Councillor Lujan, you have the floor. My apologies.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and want to thank you for the presentation. I have a few questions. I like the continued investments in dual language programs. You pointed out, but I'm not sure I heard you speak specifically to the support that will be given for the dual language Vietnamese class and the dual language Haitian Creole class. I know that for the Haitian Creole class, there was a lot of hesitation in the beginning, And now we see, based on performances on tests, that they're actually, students in dual language programs are actually outperforming students who are not in those dual language programs. So I want to hear a bit more about how we are intentionally planning to support and recruit into those dual language programs.
Thank you for that question. And yes, I mentioned low incidence languages, but I failed to specifically mention the Vietnamese and Haitian Creole programs that we have at the Mather and at the Mattahunt, respectively. In those two programs specifically, we have been working with the schools to provide the necessary curriculum and professional development resources, because those are not as readily found as with Spanish, for instance. We are continuing to work with our human capital partners to make sure that we can recruit for additional positions. And I know that the principals have been very dedicated and working alongside us to make sure that we can staff those positions. We've also had a partnership with BC to provide what we call the BEE, or Bilingual Education Endorsement, so that we can support teachers to acquire that endorsement to be able to teach in the dual language programs.
Thank you. And what are you seeing in terms of enrollment of the actual students into these dual language programs? Are we seeing enough enrollment? Are we seeing, like, I know that I believe it's for the Haitian Creole one, there needs to be enough of the native speakers and non-native speakers to balance it out. Is that still a requirement that we require for the classrooms?
So in terms of, and David, I don't know if we want Jamie to share some numbers here, but I can speak to the structure of the program. And in two-way dual language programs, it is most ideal to have 50-50 in terms of native language speakers to English-only speakers, so that students can support each other in the language that they're developing, whether it's, in this case, Haitian Creole or English. So that is something that we continue to aspire to in two-way dual language programs. We are working on determining how we can best meet the demands in terms of our student assignment process as well. And these are some things that we plan to tackle in the coming year to make sure that students who want access to these programs are able to do so through our current assignment process.
Thank you. I'm excited about the expansion of SLIFE classrooms for students with limited and interrupted formal education, and the allocation of a social worker specifically for our SLIFE students. Now, can you remind me, is that social worker, are they going to be working across all of the SLIFE classrooms, or will they be assigned to a SLIFE classroom within a school building?
So they will be actually assigned to schools with SLIFE programs. I don't have the list of schools at my fingertips, but we can provide that if needed. This is in addition to social worker allocations at those schools right now.
Great. And I think, David, I don't know if you were coming off of Zoom to add anything. No.
I mean, I and Counselor, let me know if there's any more information you'd like to hear on that.
Well, I've been, like a number of my counselors, I've been visiting a lot of schools. And so things that folks would like to see more of in schools generally, whether it's SLIFE, is like actually additional social workers and additional guidance counselors. I am very keen on us getting the ratio down of the number of guidance counselors to students. And, there's a credit to Counselor Asabi George, who really made the push for social workers in schools, and we're seeing the benefit. And so there's now a desire to have more of that. So what are we doing sort of in that area? I'm glad that we're getting the SLIFE platforms, but how are we expanding?
All schools with at least one SLIFE classroom are getting a dedicated social worker for the program at that school. Schools with one or two classrooms are getting one. The couple of schools that have more than two classrooms, which isn't many, are getting more than one. In addition, our four largest programs serving students with limited interrupted formal education, which is Newcomers Academy at Binka, East Boston, Brighton, and Charlestown. The other three schools, Binka has for years had supplemental supports, but starting in next school year, Brighton High School, Charlestown, and East Boston will have additional supplemental supports. Each is a little bit different, customized to their program to support specifically the newcomers in the school.
Now, is that just for newcomers who are in, like, those are the highest concentration of new arrival students in the high school age, or are we seeing additional schools that have high concentrations at the K through 8 stage?
K through 8, the concentration in an individual school tends to be a bit lower.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I have a question about high schools in particular, because, you know, I think that we are making some moves and some progress when it comes to early learning. Although I'd love to see us, you know, even deepen. I want to see us get to UPK, and then want to see us doing the early education work of investing when students are 1 and 2 in our systems and in family learning centers that can take our students on really young. But I also want to make sure that we are looking at the high school stage, because when you talk to a lot of parents and residents around the city, they talk about the decision-making process for them, and this idea that there are these like finite number of schools that are quality schools for our students. And then we're seeing when you add on to that, the challenges that our young people face coming out of the pandemic. What are the trends that we are seeing academically right now in our high schools that should be either that are causes for concern, and how are you addressing them academically?
So, Counselor, I'm going to ask Ted Lombardi to share some of the work that he's been doing with high schools, especially one of the things that you mentioned is making sure that we provide high quality experiences for our high school students, so that it isn't just perceived that a finite number of schools have those programs. So he's been expanding a number of those opportunities. I'm hoping he could speak to that.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Chen, and thank you, Counselor. Appreciate the question. I think the important piece for us, and I think what you're alluding to, sort of the pandemic return, has been really engaging students in a different way, to try to focus on academic growth as opposed to the deficits that we often talk about when it comes to the pandemic. So what we've done as an office is try to really solve the problem of students feeling an attachment to the programming within their high school, and feel attachment to a reason why they want to attend particular high schools. So what we've done in the secondary office this year is kind of start this movement toward offering more and more programming, particularly in pathways, so in early college pathways, in career and technical education pathways, and innovation pathways within our high schools, including our alternative ed spaces. So a lot of the investments that you saw that were high school specific in the initial presentation are meant toward growing those pathways. So we have a number of early college pathways that are starting next year, a number of what we're calling integrated career training pathways that are starting in our alternative ed schools next year. But we're also continuing to grow those beyond 23-24 in anticipation of launching more pathways, so that every school has a unique set of programming that students will be more engaged in and more apt to want to enroll in those high schools, as opposed to this sort of narrative out there that there are only a few high schools with opportunities and that students sort of end up in the rest. That is not the case for our high schools. We have a lot of incredible things happening in those schools, and we're trying to program them up so that more and more schools are at the top of students' lists for enrollment in future years.
I appreciate that. I mean, something that I have always stated, that of course BPS has a number of issues. I think enrollment isn't where we want it to be. I will say that we just have to do better at communicating what's working and what we're offering, because there are good things happening that people do not know about, and shame on us for not doing a better job of communicating that to the greater public. It can't be, me trying to defend the BPS system or trying to defend the good things that are happening. So I hope that we can get significantly better at communicating what is happening in our schools, so that people don't feel like that it's just a binary choice, or so I just hope we get better. I have a question that I want to ask about tutoring specifically, and where are we with I think we were using, was it paper as an outside vendor to help with additional tutoring? Is that still happening? How is that going? Of course, there's a lot of learning loss as a result of the pandemic, and a lot of our students continue to suffer socially and emotionally, and so we have to make sure that they're okay on that front first. But what are we seeing in terms of like the results of having tutoring programs or tutoring add-ons for our young people?
So I think overall, there are a number of different tutoring efforts going on, including some that are school-based. Paper, as you mentioned, was one that we were doing centrally, and this year, it's a great program. It allows students to have online support and services, but to be frank, it was a bit underutilized. And so as we move forward next year, we are not moving forward with that contract wholesale in the way that we have this year, but working with schools now to figure out those that were super users, if you will, have some sort of sustainability plan moving forward. But I do want to give credit to schools for engaging in sort of their specific areas of tutoring support, and those are varied across the board.
Okay. Is it through like teachers themselves that are doing individualized tutoring? Is it happening during the school day? Is it happening afterwards? Like, how is it integrated into the students' school experience?
So there are a variety of different models. Some are included in extended day models that schools have that can include some teacher support as well as external providers. But we try to encourage schools to engage with tutoring outside of the school day to the degree possible, because we don't want students missing out on core instruction from their teachers. But we do know that can be difficult sometimes because some of our students, whether it's their transportation or extracurricular activities, but we do want to make sure that while tutoring is helpful, we want to make sure that students aren't missing out, on their core instruction to have them fall further behind from even this year's work.
Thank you. I am a counselor. I see the chair coming on. I just want to continue to uplift the investments, that we need to be making for our new arrivals, our students with learning disabilities, and especially where that Venn diagram is overlapping. Our students and our new arrivals are facing, there's a lot of trauma involved. So I'm excited to hear about the new social workers. But really, I'm going to continue to push for us to have more guidance counselors that really serve at the nexus of both the academic challenge, academic needs of our students, helping them think about their future, and also doing that social and emotional labor, that work as well. So I know that right now the ratio is 300-1 in high school and 400-1 in our middle schools. We have some schools that don't have any still, like Young Achievers, a place that has seen a number of classroom disruption. So continue to advocate on that. I'm going to stop my questions now, but thank you again to BPS for being here, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Counselor, I would also thank you for your advocacy and add, if the chair permits, we are expanding 3 more newcomer learning centers at Charlestown, Brighton, as well as East Boston High School, specifically to the concern that you've raised around newcomers, which also includes additional support, including guidance counselors and special education staff to support the things that you've just pointed out. So thank you for your advocacy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Lujan. Next, we have Councilor Braden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for being here. I had a question this morning about reading proficiency and help with reading specialists with the higher grades. Not every, especially if they have newcomers coming in, they may have very basic literacy skills in their own language, their native language. Maybe no English, but certainly we also find students in higher grades who arrive in high school and who don't have adequate reading skills. So and just generally the whole area of reading proficiency is sort of the foundation for all of our education. So what supports have we got for the students in higher grades who've maybe not mastered their reading skills?
Thank you for that question, Councilor Braden. We too are very concerned about the literacy skills of our students. So I would answer this in two ways. So first, most directly to your question about reading interventionists. There are some that schools fund on their own. And then this year we are adding an additional 18, which brings that total up to 30 from the central office that are provided as a supplement to schools. And we really prioritize that based off of need and current reading proficiency of schools. That includes at all grade levels. And I certainly acknowledge the concern that sometimes it's only at the early grades, but we also have, it's based on school needs. So it's elementary K-8s as well as high schools that they'll be distributed in. The other way I want to also answer your question is, while the reading interventionists are important and needed, we also really want to make sure that our teachers can fully focus on the foundational literacy supports that should be happening in the classroom. So I think it's both of those things working in concert that are really important in order to make sure that our reading proficiency increases across the system dramatically.
Yeah, so critical. Once you get to a certain grade, you're expected to be able to read to understand the material, and if you can't read, then you're just sitting there and not necessarily being able to learn. I had a question this morning again about related service providers. So that would be your speech pathologists, your OTs, PTs. I'm just curious about how many of those we have and how that will be utilized with our new inclusion model. Will that change our needs for specialists, related service providers, and how you might address any deficits that you might see?
So we right now have about 277 related service providers altogether. And I do so appreciate your question based on your background in terms of how this is supporting moving forward with inclusion. So especially amongst related service providers, we don't see the work towards inclusion reducing the support, but I would say more importantly, how those supports are provided in tandem so that students can be fully included during the school day is something that we're working on. And of course, it's not just a matter of scheduling, but also making sure that the teams of educators that come together to, say, create the IEP for students in the first place also are working collaboratively to make sure that they're coordinating on the students' progress. Sometimes these things are very separate. And when we think about the efforts on inclusion, it's important for us to have time for folks to work together and meet. So part of what we're doing is we've added additional professional development hours for all educators across the system. So it's 8 hours for teachers. This is in addition to part of their contract. So it's an investment from us centrally. It also includes related service providers so that they can actually engage in professional development together, because once things happen during the school day, everybody's off and running, providing their services, but we really want to make sure that there's coordination on how to focus on the assets of our students with disabilities and our multilingual learners, and make sure that we are leading in that way, and to have some coordination supports and systems at the school level so that everyone isn't just providing isolated services, but coming together to make sure we are monitoring the progress of our students.
And then how does that also connect with, because carryover and application in real life in terms of skills when the student goes home, how are we communicating our programming with parents of special needs kids who maybe have an IEP across the whole spectrum of skill sets? Like we go from high functioning to severe special needs, but how do we communicate that so that there's some carryover in the home setting? I know that the parents are not, their job's not to be teachers, but how is there to sort of offer the students opportunities to practice those skills in an outside of school setting.
Right.
Do we do any of that work?
That is so important. And actually, Dr. Viviani works with our SPED PAC, and there are opportunities that we provide together through SPED PAC for families. They've been really well attended sessions. I think there was one on reading interventions. There are various topics, one also on behavioral supports. I think in addition to that, what we're trying to do is firmly establish at the school level as well, not just centrally, because we know not all families necessarily come to those sessions, but that at the school level, we want to make sure that parents and family members are part of the teams. And so when we talk about implementing inclusion, every school will have an inclusion planning team. And we encourage families to be on that team so that they can provide that input. But we also want to make sure there's a plan at the school to be able to provide that additional support, as you said, because it helps to understand what's happening with the young person during the school day and then what families can do to further support. And I would say it's two-way, right? It's also really important to understand from the family's perspective as the experts on their children, like what are the things that we at the school level can do to best support them?
Yeah. I'm going to keep going until Madam Chair tells me to stop. Partnerships, I really feel that, and I've said this before, that we leave a huge amount of resources on the table when it comes to partnerships in the city of Boston. We have so many resources here. I was hoping that how many folks are dedicated to working on cultivating partnerships in BPS?
In all of our departments, people engage in partnerships as part of their work, but specifically, I don't know if Mr. Bloom can refer to this in terms of Ana Taveras, my colleague, who's our Chief of Equity and Family and Community Advancements, has the Office of Partnerships there. Perhaps they can share the numbers there.
Yeah, so in that office, give me 1 second. Our partnerships team, I believe, has 4 full-time positions, but I'll look it up and get back to you quickly.
Yeah, and what I'm sort of getting at is that, you know, we should be really leveraging all of the resources in the city. Like we have more students per square inch than in many other large urban areas. And coming to college here, some colleges require them to do service hours, you know, tutoring or mentoring or being a big brother or a big sister or all number of things. And in terms of STEM education, you know, just there's so many, with the lab science biotech industry. I think we really need to step it up a little bit because I think we're leaving a lot on the table. And especially preparing, as we have these career pathways, preparing young people to go into like STEM careers or whatever. I feel that we have to, you know, I say this every year, maybe it'll be more next year.
Your point is very taken. Yeah. And because we have been in, I think also in various departments, we have partnerships, but to your point, we have so many resources in the city and we do need to do a better job of really fully taking advantage because the partners do want to support and we just need to make sure we can continue to cultivate that. Yeah.
And I've heard from folks who are on the other side of it who are wanting to be partners that working with BPS is not, it's a bureaucracy, it's difficult. We need to think about streamlining and improving those ways that corporate entities or whatever can engage with improving our situation in our schools, you know. We've certainly got lots to improve. But I also want to say, I want to echo Councillor Louis-Jean's comment about not we need to blow our trumpets when we do things well. There's so many amazing things happening in our schools, but we never hear about that. We just hear about all the things that are going wrong. So we're in a competitive marketplace for our students. We're competing with Metco and pilot and charter schools and public and not private and private schools and parochial schools. And we just need to really sell ourselves better and make sure that people are excited to come to. And I had an experience recently with the parents who came to our neighborhood from San Diego or somewhere, and they landed in one of our elementary schools and they thought they'd died and gone to heaven because they were really impressed with but that's not the perception of folks in the neighborhood. You know, they have such a low opinion of what happens in our schools, and yet some great things are happening. So yeah, we don't want to over sugarcoat it too much, but I think we should be promoting what we do well. STEM education inclusion. So in terms of the inclusion, are we looking at co-teaching models, or how's that going to work if you have a classroom with 25 kids and some of them are special needs and are we going to co-teach with a special ed teacher, and do we have enough special ed teachers to deliver on that one?
So great question. And co-teaching is one of the models of two teachers in a classroom. Sometimes there's partial co-teaching as well, where there's a part-time special educator who is in two classrooms, for instance. Sometimes there's also additional paraprofessional support. We're looking at all of those different models. I think what's important is to make sure that we prepare our educators first and foremost for being able to be equipped to really fully leverage the assets of students particular to their disability. So that is first and foremost the main line of work to do. We also want to make sure that as we look at each individual IEP, we're making sure that we provide students with the setting that is best for them. And within a school, we want to look at a continuum of supports. So it could be that there are some students who can be moved into an inclusive setting where there's either co-teaching or some version of that, or still be in a self-contained or a strand specific, having some part-time in a general ed setting as well. All of those things are part of what we're working with our schools on. In terms of the BTU, we also have some specific class size limits, and also moving to the expansion of inclusion across the city. There's also a percentage of total number of students with IEPs in a classroom as well. So all of those factors are being taken into account as we plan school by school for the configuration of classrooms that provide a full continuum of services within the building.
Okay, Madam Chair, how am I doing for time? I think I've probably spent my time.
30 seconds.
30 seconds, quick one more. Paraprofessionals, they are very often bilingual. They come in, they work in the classrooms. Are we developing a career pathway to help support those paraprofessionals to move forward, get some certification, maybe actually ultimately become classroom teachers? How are we supporting that? And because recruiting staff from diverse cultural backgrounds with linguistic skills is a challenge, but we've got people right in front of us who are tremendous human potential to be very productive teachers. Are we capitalizing on that opportunity?
Yes, that is, we have been, but we want to do more of that, to your excellent point. I think also part of the work that we're doing this year is the additional 8 hours of professional development that I mentioned. It also includes paraprofessionals. Now, in terms of the collective bargaining agreement, they don't have to attend those 8 hours that we're adding, but we highly encourage them. And we believe that they're sometimes a group that's a little bit neglected in terms of the additional supports. And I think that is also a place where through that professional development, we're hoping that encourages our paraprofessionals to be involved in some of these pipeline programs that we're trying to add in the coming year, especially around bilingual. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Thank you. I'm sure that's my time now. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you both.
Thank you, Councillor Braden. Next on my list, I have we lost Council President Flynn. Sorry. Councillor Mejia, you're next on my list. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so I'm going to dive in specifically. I have some questions around English language learners and also special education supports. I'm very interested in learning more about the recent arrivals and the type of attention they're receiving when students are coming to this country. You know, as someone who came here when I was 5 years old, luckily I came at a time where I was able to learn how to speak English at a younger age. But I do know, having worked in the Boston Public Schools with families who are immigrants, you know, acclimating to this culture is really difficult. And if you have had interrupted education, kind of acclimating your way into the school system is already enough of a challenge. So this is very, you know, important for us to really look at based on everything that we're seeing in the influx of our recent arrivals, and particularly from Venezuela and Haiti. And I would just like to learn, if you could just talk to me a little bit about the process for a student to get a SPED assessment. Can you talk to me a little bit about what that looks like? If not just English language learners in terms of services, but like how are we assessing recent arrivals for special education?
Thank you, Councillor Mejia, and thank you also for your continued advocacy and support of our multilingual learners and our multilingual learners with disabilities. So I think I mentioned earlier that we are expanding a few newcomer learning centers because we've also seen growth in our multilingual learners and largely in the secondary level. So that would be in the areas of Brighton, Charlestown, and East Boston, in addition to Binka for next year.
I heard about that, yeah, but I was just curious specifically around staffing and SPED assessors. How many are we going to have for the district? How many do we have that are multilingual? That's the level of like in the weeds I want to get into. So if you could tell me that would be great.
Sure. So I will get into, actually, I'm going to have Dr. Viviani share some of the numbers on specific evaluators, because one of the things that we've been doing is to make sure that we increase the number of evaluators that are bilingual. And we've also, I'm pleased to share that our psychologists have been actually adding the number of native language evaluations so that we can best assess a student's needs in terms of eligibility for services. So I'll ask Interim Assistant Superintendent Dr. Viviani. I don't know if she's in the room. Oh, there she is.
I also want to be mindful that I have very limited time with my questions, and I have like a lot that I want to get through. So if you need some time to look up the data, let me know. And I can move on to my next question.
I think she does have the data.
Great.
So we have at least for speech and language pathologists, we have high incidence and low incidence bilingual folks for speech and language pathologists and for school psychologists. Occupational therapists, we have several high incidence and a few low incidence languages for the rest of the related services. Many of the bilingual psychologists are not assigned to particular school sites, but we make sure that we have enough to assess kids across the district and then assign them as needed for particular individual students.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, could anyone define what a SPED assessor is? The people who do the assessments for special education, because that's my question. It's around the SPED assessors that I'm curious about. That's the question that I'm asking.
So a school psychologist is typically across the board for every assessment that's needed to determine eligibility for special education. Often it also includes a speech and language pathologist. And depending on what the concerns are, whoever's bringing the concerns, a teacher, a parent, sometimes we have an occupational therapist, a physical therapist, and sometimes a developmental or kind of educational assessor, depending on the age and the needs of the child that we think we may need. But almost in every circumstance, there's a psychologist that's kind of the core of the assessment team.
That's great. That's great. And can you tell me a little bit about their caseload? Like how many students?
So, Mr. Bloom, I know that I don't know if you know this offhand, but there are some formulas that we use to assign psychologists. I just want to make sure that we're clear that the bilingual psychologists are assigned across, so they're a little bit outside these numbers.
So, and then I'm going to ask another question in regards to, I'm going to follow. Are you familiar with the bateria assessment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you tell me how many do we have available in the district?
We have a lot of kits for the bilingual assessors. And in fact, we just made an investment to add several more kits, bilingual kits for assessments across the board.
Right.
I don't know offhand. I don't know the number right now. I'll have to make sure that I will have to look that up and get back to you on that number.
Thank you, Lauren. What I am curious about is how many how many assessors you have that are bilingual and who are skilled in administering the bateria test.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely make sure I look up that number for you specifically.
Because I've been hearing numbers that there's only one for the entire district. And it's a bilingual one. And that oftentimes, I don't know. I don't know if I can confirm nor deny that, but I hear that there's a limited capacity in that area. And it could be really solved by just training people to learn how to administer the bateria test so that, teachers can also administer it instead of having one person. So I just want to name that I've been hearing some stuff like that. And, that we don't have well-trained translators either who are good at explaining special education. So can you talk to me a little bit about some of the investments that are being made? And I know this firsthand as a parent and as someone who worked in the education space, organizing parents and I've sat through so many special education hearings, that the language that is used, even in English, you need to, the Da Vinci Code to crack it, to understand it. And that is just as equally as hard for native speakers who, English is not their first language. So I'm just curious, what are we doing to beef up the capacity for our translators so that they could be native language speakers and that they also have a very clear understanding of special education technical language in a way that is culturally competent in terms of translation. So can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yes, actually, related to translators, we're actually in the middle of doing some audits around translation with our translation department for special education to make sure that they're high quality and the translators understand special education. So we're engaging collaboratively with the translation unit to, one, understand where the needs are, and then number two, provide some training, especially around the technical language of special education. So that is ongoing work that we're doing with that unit.
Yeah, so I want to think kind of the best way that I might be able to be helpful in this particular space is because I work with so many parents who are undocumented and they don't understand their rights and they don't understand how to navigate the system. And so oftentimes, our kids are being labeled as special education when it's really an English language learner issue. And then that, from what I understand, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, but do parents have to pick between one service or the other if they're going to get ELL services or if they're going to get special education services? Or do they get both? Can you just help me understand kind of the process when a parent has a child who has multiple needs, kind of how the district is responding to those needs?
So as we think about special education and ELL, I think this is a really great question. I'm really glad that you brought it up because we've been really thinking carefully about this with our district throughout. And as we're thinking about kids with disabilities who are also ELL and thinking about what their LRE is and how to provide the resources that are needed for kids with disabilities, their ESL resources, it's important to make sure that we're really grounding the things that we're doing in data and what the kids need based on what their disability is and what their ELD level is. So we're engaging with experts from the University of SUNY New York to help us understand what is the landscape and where are the needs and how do we continue to provide and excel in these areas for kids with disabilities who are multilingual learners.
Yeah,
Just to follow up on that, we're trying to make sure that we add native language assessments so that we can better be more precise about what the needs are so they can get both of their services, and especially in working with specific schools around inclusion, we've been also looking at figuring out how to best provide students with disabilities and dual language programs the supports that they need as well, because we do believe that students should be getting both bilingual and special education services.
Yeah, I worry about the narrative that parents have to choose between one or the other, and I don't think that that is the best way for us to do business if we're really serious about, you know, getting a good return on our investment. And so I through the chair, I'm going to ask for a formal list of staff and their specific roles for, you know, special education, ELs. I'd love to kind of have a better handle of what that looks like. And not every single school has a bateria, a Spanish version for standardized testing. And I'd love to know, you know, what investments are being made so that that tool, it's only like $1,000. It's not even that expensive from what I understand. So I don't even know why we don't have it. Bloom, I mean, or Nate, I don't know who's in the building, right? But somebody has to tell me it only costs $1,000 and we could train people, and instead of having one person try to take care of the entire district, that delays the process in terms of services, especially for recent arrivals. And we're not even talking, this is just Spanish. You know, we're talking about other native language speakers that we're not, that we need to also have this bateria test being able to be administered. So I just think in terms of investments, I'm not sure if I see those numbers in the current budget in terms of how we're gonna really support these students. So I think that there's some opportunity for some revisions there. And then the last thing before Counselor Anderson puts me on mute is when recent arrivals come, they usually get put in a grade that they were in or they were tested into. Can you just talk to me about kind of like how we end up, you know, they go back automatically a year. And I know that for one of the, having worked in the education space, particularly with chronically absent young people, many of which are recent arrivals, is that when they're 18 and they come to this country and they're supposed to be a senior or, you know, have already graduated, they end up in the 11th grade or 10th grade. And I understand the logic, but I'm just curious about what are we doing to help support the social and emotional kind of like socializing around that, right? Because sometimes they don't test into that grade, they get placed into that grade automatically. And I'm not sure if that's something that DESE needs to take care of or that's something that you all can do, but I just don't feel like that's setting these young people up for success.
So when students come to the newcomer, so when they first come, they go through the newcomer assessment and counseling center to make sure we provide them with like the eligibility assessment for the ELD level. And it's during that time, and I appreciate your question because it's always a little bit tricky because we try to look at transcripts, we try to make sure the student is not losing ground, but that we support them in whatever grade that they are in. And so during that process, whether it's transcript review or not, what we've done is we've added some native language assessments to help us determine whether or not, because the practice that you're speaking about of just automatically putting a student in a grade below, that isn't something that we're trying to exercise. We're trying to do our best to make sure if there isn't paperwork, and in some of the countries that students are coming from, there isn't a lot of information to go with. And that's why the native language assessments have been helpful to really determine that grade placement, especially in using math as an example. So those are some of the pieces that we have in place. I think it helps to be able to have these additional newcomer learning centers to be able to provide much more support. So if a student were placed in a grade lower by some reason, then there are folks watching closely to make sure the student is in the correct grade level and courses that are required. And also, Councilor Mejia, I do have numbers from your question about the bateria, and we have 16 people who can do this, so we'd be happy to follow up with your office to understand where we can kind of set the record straight, and you can get more information about that.
How many of them are Spanish?
For the bateria, it is, oh, right, Lauren, go ahead.
All of those 16 are Spanish speakers who can do the bateria in Spanish.
That's great. All right, thank you for that.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. Councilor Coletta, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to everybody here at BPS for your presentation. I will start my line of questioning just with early childhood inclusion seats. And this past year, I had a constituent reach out about the lack of early childhood inclusion seats in Charlestown in the North End. And then after inquiring further, my office received data that these two communities only have 15 K-2 inclusion seats between them. So I'm wondering if there's a plan to increase the number of K-2 seats as this population continues to grow. And then also, what is our capacity in terms of early childhood inclusion teachers in the district?
Thank you, Councilor Coletta, for that question. We have definitely seen an increased number of early childhood students with special needs, and we have been working on increasing the number of inclusion seats with that. I am going to ask that Jason Sachs come on if he's there to share some more specifics with you. It is something that we've actually been partnering with the city on as well to make sure that we can expand seats where there are needed, as well as partner with early intervention to make sure that we have the sort of requisite supports that families need, and also to increase the pipeline of teachers. Jason and Lauren, if you want to add more, feel free to come on.
I would just add that we identified there are schools that we need to move into with inclusion seats because they don't have them. And so we've identified those schools and then thinking through how do we right size the peers, because right now we have 4-year-old typical students and we need 3-year-old typical students to be in the inclusion classrooms. So that's part of the whole dialogue. And there are definitely neighborhoods where we need to expand. So I'm not surprised to hear that, and it's something we're thinking through. And then as well as pipeline of teachers, we're going to need more early childhood teachers. And then finally, we are doing a lot of work with the community-based providers to think about what would inclusion look like in community-based programs, where do they need supports, what kind of requirements from the states would be there. So then we're thinking about the whole system of early childhood as it supports inclusion. And then specific numbers for neighborhoods, I think Jamie or the rest of the planning and analysis team can answer.
Yeah, I would just add in terms of numbers that as we work with the renovation at the Edwards building in Charlestown, part of the plan there includes an expansion of early childhood seats.
Thank you, David. And then with the Edwards School, I know that it's going to be swing space for the Horace Mann, and we are welcoming them with open arms, as well as some space for the Warren Prescott. Are there any general updates about, you said that there will be early education seats there, will it include, special programming for inclusion seats or English language learners?
So the Warren Prescott K0, K1 programming focuses on students with autism primarily, and there is expansion of seats available there in inclusion programming that will be available. There's also, of course, many other students who are in the school with a variety of needs as well, who join, as well as English learners. The Warren Prescott themselves doesn't have a specific sheltered English immersion program or dual language program at the moment, though I'll defer back to my colleagues in academics if they feel like that's on the horizon.
So I'm going to answer part of this as well, and Dr. Eccleston, I think if he can be elevated, has some specific details around this particular neighborhood, this area. But I would say I want to be clear that as we move towards district-wide inclusion, we are going to be improving how we ensure full inclusion for students. We have been very dependent upon specific disabilities being included, and it will be not as much segregated in that way as we move forward, which is why we're also doing quite a bit of professional learning with our teachers to prepare them for those settings. So I just want to note that moving forward, the goal is not to have inclusion that's only a specific disability, but that there are multiple disabilities in that heterogeneous space. So I'm not sure if Dr. Eccleston was elevated, but I think he has some additional details about the schools in that area.
If he's not, I probably will move towards my next line of questioning, if that's okay. I do want to jump into the multilingual education, and my colleagues have asked many of my questions, but I am pleased to hear about the welcoming centers in Charlestown and East Boston. We have had a lot of new arrivals that have come specifically to East Boston because they know of a family member or a friend, and we've done what we can in our best to welcome them, again, with open arms. What I have heard is that groups of families, their children will be dispersed across the city because there's a wait list at Binka. And there has been discussion and confirmation actually from the superintendent herself to have another newcomers academy in this area of Boston, which I absolutely love. And I'm just wondering what the timeline is on that. I have yet to get any specifics, but knowing that we're planning out our academics, I'm wondering if any of you have any answers to that.
So that is something that we have been experiencing through when students come through the newcomer assessment and counseling center, is that depending on where there are seats available, families have had to split up a little bit in terms of areas of the city. We've actually been case by case trying to make sure that we place students as close as possible. And in some cases, we've worked with families to share with them the different kinds of programming and supports that we can provide locally to sort of mitigate for some of that. Can you just repeat which part of the city? Because we are adding a newcomer center to Charlestown, Brighton, and East Boston. Was there another area of the city? I'm sorry, I may have missed that in the question.
So it was both. I had heard that these welcoming centers are going to be here, and we love that. But then Superintendent Skipper had also mentioned that there could be a possibility for opening up another Binka 2.0. And that's something that we desperately need, just given the wait list. And was wondering if there's any clarity on the timeline for that.
Okay, so there will be, similar to the Newcomer Learning Academy within Binka, those are the 3 areas that we are adding. It'll be the program within those schools' current programs. So that means they're getting additional staff and so on. And that was to meet the demands that are happening in those areas.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And then just my last question comes around college and career readiness. We got some really great news about early college and open enrollment in my district. What are we doing to expand that citywide? I always say that dual enrollment in early college is an economic tool as well as an academic tool. It saves you money for college credits. It's something that my friends took advantage of back in the day, and it really paid dividends in the end. So I'm wondering, what sort of partnerships are we pushing forth? I know there's one with Bunker Hill Community College, but have we been talking to other area colleges to expand this program? And then in order to do so, what sort of investments do we need in terms of personnel and just, I guess, different types of funding to make this program a success?
We're so excited about that expansion and that work, and I'm going to ask Ted to share some of the specific partners and the work that we're doing citywide in this upcoming year.
Sure, happy to. So yes, Bunker Hill is certainly a primary partner of ours in the early college space, but we also partner with Wentworth. We partner with UMass Boston. We're exploring partnerships with even a broader range of schools in the future. So in particular, one that I'll highlight is just UMass Boston, particularly with their Year 13 program, which we're starting with Fenway High School next year. We're looking to expand that beyond that next year into more of our high schools. So, Bunker Hill certainly geographically, I understand what the question came about, is a primary partner of ours, but we are always looking to expand partnerships all around the city to be able to have more early college pathways for our students. So more to come there for sure.
Thank you all so much. Is anybody prepared to talk about exam school data on this call?
So that will be in an upcoming school committee meeting this Wednesday. So we can certainly provide more information after that.
Okay, that is what I thought. I will hold my line of questioning, Madam Chair, and thank you so much for being here, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Coletta. I think that is all of it. Councilor Braden, if you have any final questions, this would be a good time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't really have any further questions. I really hope that our welcome centers are appropriately staffed and resourced so that they don't actually become a burden on the rest of the schools in which they're located. I want it to be a well-resourced welcome center that enhances our schools rather than becomes a negative. I don't want it to. If they're under-resourced and you're pulling resources from within the school to support them, then that's to no one's benefit. I hope that if we do it well and we do it right. And I also want to thank everyone for their conversation this evening. I've listened to all my colleagues' questions, and it's it's tough work that we do and that you do, and we've lots of challenges. But hopefully, we just keep working together to keep moving the dial in the right direction. So thank you.
Councilor Braden, thank you for I just wanted to just comment.
Councilor Braden, sorry, Ms. Chen. Thank you, Councilor Braden. If no further questions, we'll move forward with our listening session. Superintendent or Deputy Superintendent Chen, did you have a remark for Councilor Braden?
Yes, sorry. I just wanted to clarify that for those newcomer centers that have been added, those 3, there is additional funding and positions that are outside of the school's budget that were added, just to clarify. Thank you. Thank you. Very important. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you so much for, that was very important. Megan, do we have anybody signed up for public testimony?
Nope, no one signed up.
Okay. All right, Deputy Superintendent and Mr. Bloom and and all other parties that are here from BPS. Appreciate your work. Thank you so very much. This is our last hearing. I promised a hard stop at 4. We would like to support the advocates at our side for participatory budget office amendment, and we have to adjourn. But if you have any pending questions that went out to you, please submit them to my email, and I'm happy to distribute them to my colleagues. I thank you so much and look forward to communicating with you. If there are any if there are any amendment proposals that I feel you may need to hear of ahead of time, I will be contacting you no later than tomorrow before proposing it on the floor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. If you have no closing remarks, Councilor Mejia, you all set? I think, Councilor Mejia, if you're muted, if you're not muted, I think I'll take that as a yes. All right, thank you so much. Hearing adjourned. Have a good afternoon.